Hi you guys, welcome back to another episode of Life with Z. Today we're doing some Christmas crafts. We have quite a few things on the agenda today. I want to do some Christmas candles. So I have some natural soy wax that I picked up from Joann's, some tins to put our candles in, and I found these scented wax melts. So I have an idea to zhuzh our candles up a bit and make them extra special. Another craft I have in mind, I'll insert a picture right here, is to make these Christmas bow ornaments. So we have a few Christmas colors right here that we'll be using, some gold wire to make those bow ornaments, and we'll tie some satin ribbon so they can attach to the tree. And then lastly, I have these mini grapevine wreaths that I want to add some baby's breath, greenery, and a few flowers to make some little wreaths for the back of our kitchen stools. So we have lots to do and I'm excited to see how it all turns out. So let's get started. But the fire keeps us warm. We can spend the night. All right, you guys, we are jumping right in with our Christmas candle craft. And for some of these candles, I decided to repurpose a few of these glass wee yogurt jars that we've collected. I've been looking for a use for them and I thought this would be the perfect craft. So I ordered some of these wooden lids from Amazon that I can use as the candle lids, and I'm just hot gluing the wicks to the bottom of the jar while I warm up my wax. I also have these gold tins that I picked up from Joann's as well. So we'll get the wicks glued into these holders and get everything all set up. One thing I learned through trial and error with candle making and using soy wax particularly is that you need to let the wax cool a bit before you start pouring into your jars. So we're being real technical over here. I have a meat thermometer that I'm using just to check the temperature and make sure we get the wax below 130 degrees before we start pouring. And I'll make my little station over here. I like to put a little bit of aluminum foil and paper towel down just to make sure that none of the wax is getting onto my counters, and we'll get the jars all filled up and cooling so we can decorate them. So the main purpose for letting that wax cool a bit before you pour it is just to prevent any cracking or bubbling of the wax surface on the candle. And this is where it gets fun. So I mentioned before I found these scented wax melts and I thought they would be so cute nestled on the top of the candles. I've seen candles like this at Home Goods and different boutiques where there's little wax shapes kind of resting or tucked into the top of the candles, and these turned out so sweet. I love how cute they are, and an added benefit is the candles are fragrance free except for the wax melt. So I used unscented natural soy wax, and then just for a little bit of fun we have those scented shapes on top. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for me and you. Next up, we have our mini wreaths for the back of the kitchen stools, and I was so excited for this project. I've wanted to make my own mini wreaths for a while, so I picked up these grapevine wreaths from Michael's and some fresh flowers from Publix. This baby's breath actually had a little bit of silver glitter sprayed on, which added the perfect extra Christmassy touch. And I'm just tucking in all the greenery to the grapevine wreath. Wherever a little extra support is needed, I can add a little bit of wire to hold things together. But for the most part, everything is just tucked into place. And once we get that all secured, we'll add a red ribbon hook and a red ribbon bow, and we'll hang them on the kitchen stools. You could totally do this craft with faux florals as well, but I knew that this greenery and baby's breath would dry pretty well for the most part and still look nice, and they turned out great. I absolutely love how easy this craft was to put together and how beautiful and Christmassy these wreaths look on my kitchen stools. To attach the wreaths, I just used a little bit of ribbon and a thumbtack to press into the top of the stool and hang the wreath perfectly. Now we'll quickly whip up a few more so we can have a wreath for every stool before we hang them all up and move on to our next craft. After making a few of these wreaths, I started to get into the swing of things and learned that it was best to leave a blank space where you wanted the bow to go and a little bit of an opening for the hook on top, just so that you weren't having to work with the ribbon over the greenery. So there's a little tip if you decide to recreate these for yourself at home. This craft could easily be done for any season as well. I'm already brainstorming ideas for spring wreaths or fall wreaths as well. This crafting night quickly turned into a crafting weekend. So after finishing up the last few wreaths, we called it a night and decided to put the finishing touches on the candles and start our beading crafts the next day. Look how cute these Christmas candles turned out. I absolutely love them. After snipping the wicks, I'll add the lids so they're ready for gifting. But take a look at these cutie little gingerbread people. They're so sweet, and these will make the absolute perfect gifts for a few of my friends. I love how they turned out, and similar to my Christmas wreaths, I'm excited to make these for future seasons as well. I'm still perfecting the reusing of these wee yogurt jars. The wick was a little too tall for a few of these, but they'll still be good to enjoy at home, and one or two turned out really cute. So let's light one of our candles and get crafting. It's time to start our beaded ornament craft. We all know this Christmas is all about the bows, so I knew I wanted to create a bow ornament of my own, and when I found this picture on Pinterest, I'll insert a clip here, I knew I wanted to try and recreate these at home. So I started with some seed beads. I have some red and green glass beads, some white pearlescent beads, and gold beads as well. And then I got some gold wire, and the link that I found on Pinterest wasn't an actual tutorial. So with a little bit of searching, I found a basic pattern for a beaded bow, and that's what we're going to use as our guide to create these seed bead bow ornaments. I started out by stringing the beads onto the wire one by one, and I tried a few different techniques, but what worked best for me was to have the beads in a bowl like this and then just kind of using the wire as my needle to string them on. I did a few different styles, some where it was a single color and a few patterns where I rotated, whether it was red and white, green and gold, white and gold, just to make a variety of different styles. And I really liked the variety of different patterns I could create. After stringing enough beads on one side of the wire to create one loop of the bow, I would then tuck the wire through one bead and out the other end to create the one side of the bow loop. I'll insert a link to the pattern that I followed in the description box below. It sounds more complicated than it is, but the pattern is pretty straightforward to follow, and after the first one, I got the hang of it. So we'll add the tails to our bows where we just string on the beads, and to finish off the ends, I used some pliers to trim the wire and then curl the ends with some tweezers just to give it that finished look. In order to turn these beautiful beaded bows into Christmas ornaments, we're going to add some ribbon. And at this point, I had to reference the Pinterest picture that I had originally found just so I could see exactly how they got it to lay so well. And it was pretty straightforward, just tying the ribbon around the center of the bow as if you were attaching it to a gift, and then looping it up around the top and tying it again in a knot so that it could hang. And it turned out so sweet. I really love how delicate and dainty these are. They'll be the perfect ornament for a Christmas tree. You could also add them to a present or any gift wrap as an extra special little touch. So at this point, I was in the swing of it, cranking out these bow ornaments and having a lot of fun. I had a Christmas movie on in the background, sipping my mint tea and really enjoying my Christmas crafts. I ended up with 4 beautiful Christmas bow ornaments, and I absolutely love how they turned out. Here's an up-close look at a few of them. The red and white is one of my favorites, and I picked up a few little gift boxes as well. So we'll wrap these up, and they'll be the perfect add-on for some of my Christmas gifts.
Christmas night. I know you may stop a light, but together we're alright. You know we're ready for Christmas.
It wouldn't be a Christmas crafting day without some baking, and I was in the mood to bake with some Andes mints. So we're going to do 2 different Andes mint cookies tonight. One will be a chocolate peppermint cookie, and that's the one we're starting with, where we'll be using the chocolate peppermint Andes candies, chocolate chips, and cocoa powder for a chocolatey cookie with a lot of chocolate goodness baked inside. I'll be sure to link the recipe down below if you're interested in trying these cookies as well. I've been really working on perfecting my baking, and I decided to try using a scale instead of measuring cups for my dry ingredients. I've heard that, especially with baking, this can help make your finished product turn out so much better because you can be that much more accurate. And I know it's definitely not a new technique, but it's something I wanted to try for the first time, and I feel like it worked out pretty well. An added bonus was saving some of those extra dishes where I didn't have to wash as many measuring cups and spoons because I was just using the scale to measure my ingredients. So after mixing the butter and sugar, the eggs and vanilla, we'll add the flour and the last few dry ingredients before we form our dough, mix in our chocolate chips and Andes mints, and start shaping our cookie dough. This recipe called for the cookies to bake at 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes, and I found that 11 minutes gave them the perfect bake. When you take them out of the oven, you can add a little bit of crushed candy cane, and I liked that for some, but it was quite a bit of peppermint, so I did that on a few, and some I left plain, and they were absolutely delicious. Our next cookie recipe is a peppermint Oreo cookie. So while I was putting in another batch of the chocolate peppermint cookies, we'll unwrap our Andes peppermint crunch candies and get these chopped up for the next batch of cookies. This recipe called for chopped up Andes peppermint crunch, which is the white chocolate Andes, and semi-sweet chocolate chips and crushed Oreos. So you can't go wrong with all those delicious ingredients. We'll get them all prepared as we swap in and out a new batch of the chocolate cookies in the oven.
the time of year again. I'm happy you're here.
This recipe called for cold cubed butter, so we'll get that all chopped up, and in our mixing bowl we'll add our sugar as well and get that going before we mix in our vanilla and egg and all of our dried ingredients.
Everyone's having a good time. I hear those jingle bells, people singing about love. It feels like I'm a kid, like I'm forever young. And that's why I want to sing about the Christmas on its way.
Once the cookie dough begins to form, then we'll add in our chopped up Andes mints, our semi-sweet chocolate chips, and our crushed up Oreos. This cookie dough looked so delicious and the cookies tasted even better. I really enjoyed spending the time with you today. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing some of my Christmas crafts. It's been a month full of decorating, crafting, baking, all my favorite things, and I've really enjoyed spending all the time with you. We'll get these last few cookies in the oven so we can enjoy them. And at this point, the house really smelled like peppermint heaven. All these delicious baked goods. It was really starting to feel like Christmas. We'll look back at all of the beautiful Christmas crafts we made together. And thank you so much for spending the time with me. Please make sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you're new, and check back next week for a brand new video. Bye!